Over the last few weeks, we've taken you to towns all across central Iowa and shown the damage done to properties, city buildings, and homes. We've also shown you the helping hands who have rushed to the aid of those who've most needed it. But there were some who it took extra long to get resources to. A few weeks ago, I spent a week back in my home area of eastern Iowa with a filmmaking friend, Kelsey Hammer Parks, documenting the stories of people there. We met with people who 10 days after the derecho hit were still sleeping in cars. As many had already found fixes to their problems, these people were just beginning. For them, the disaster magnified socioeconomic issues that were already present. Over the next few nights, I'll be sharing their stories. And tonight, I introduce you to a Des Moines woman who dropped everything she was doing to help those in Cedar Rapids. Once the winds stopped, silence was soon replaced by sounds of building back. The revving of a chainsaw, the hum of a generator, all creating a soundtrack of stability. Power was restored and debris gave way to roads once more. 5 days had passed of neighbors helping neighbors, and yet Nancy from Des Moines got a call of desperation.
Something tells me there are people who are really suffering in Cedar Rapids. And I said, what do you mean by that? Because my thinking based on media then, it was just trees that had fallen.
What she discovered was more than a chainsaw could fix. 120 hours after the storm had left Iowa, hundreds of our neighbors were living in tents, not knowing where they'd get their next meal. Lost in the debris was the dignity of Iowa's most vulnerable.
You could see desperation, you could see pain, you could see heart. Everything was shattered. Nothing was clean. There are trees everywhere, there are glasses everywhere, there are kids were running, no shoes. Living in this place, and it's filthy.
What? I just found out that that's an African store. So.
Nancy began a daily trek from Des Moines to Cedar Rapids with friends, loading supplies and bringing them to people on the southwest side of town. Many who live in the hardest hit apartments are Midwest natives who grew up in the cycle of poverty and never left. Others, in large part, are refugees who came to Iowa for something better, only to face ruin once more. Language and cultural barriers made it hard to connect with proper resources for aid. Things we might take for granted, such as the ability to read a sign denoting uninhabitable buildings or even directions to shelter, meant the difference between sleeping inside or out.
We always have this imagery of what Africa looks like. And unfortunately, sometimes what you see on TV is not really the true African. Africans are humans. And I believe that God says we're all created to be equal. But seeing that just reminded me of what I always see on TV. And I'm like, I am African, I made it. And there are people out there that look like me, and nobody's picking up for them.
Nancy began speaking up for those she could, working alongside volunteers at the Intercultural Center of Iowa, who say these inequalities preceded the storm.
The derecho exposed the whole to the existing system. Like, clearly, like, we were not prepared as a community.
And then I will try to get people here.
Rama Muzo says many of the people who live in these buildings already had major disruption in their lives because of COVID-19. Essential workers in meatpacking plants, now even without homes, still going to work.
Even now, they still work. We have transportation picking them from the shelter to go to work. So if this is what they actually given to us, why can't we just do little and actually just improve the quality of living?
3 weeks after the storm, these Iowans are still in temporary shelter. They have to be out of the hotels by Saturday. And volunteers like Nancy and Rama will do everything they can to help the people they see themselves in figure out their next step.
And they don't know what long-term solution looks like. But there needs to be something where people are not going back into poverty.
And if you would like to join their efforts in bringing essential supplies to those affected in Cedar Rapids, we have a GoFundMe listed on our website, weareiowa.com, with specific items that are needed so the right things get to the right people. Eva Anderson, Local 5 News, We Are Iowa.